What the Sam Hill's going on here?
The Rewatch Podcast presents the Lois and Clark Rewatch, dedicated to the series Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman on ABC. Join us each week as we investigate the origins of the Man of Steel and uncover crime in Metropolis. Send your feedback to the Rewatch Podcast at gmail.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/rewatchpodcast or follow us on Twitter at rewatchpod.
Oh, hey! Let's get back to it.
And welcome back to the Rewatch Podcast and our Lois and Clark Rewatch. I'm Cory.
And I'm a pig. Don't know why. I just am. I'm there. Not sure why, though.
Random pig.
Random pig. That'll come up, I'm sure.
For sure. All right. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We are, of course, here discussing 2 more episodes of Lois and Clark. And this week's headline reads, I've got smart. Because we're discussing I've Got a Crush on You and Smart Kids.
I can't wait to get to Smart Kids. But anyway.
Yeah, let's get into our first episode discussion. The episode is I've Got a Crush on You, written by Thania St. John and directed by Gene Reynolds. And this originally aired on October 24th of 1993.
You haven't sent that article on the toasters down to copy yet, have you?
I'm just putting the finishing touches on it right now. Drumstick?
I swear, if you ever breathe a word of that to anyone.
You were saying something about the article?
Yes, stop the presses. The Metro's just had a big meeting. Johnny is out, and his sister Tony has taken over. Come on, if we hurry, we can get it in the afternoon edition.
Lois.
Clark, I'm on a deadline.
Professional but naughty. I like it. So I guess if Johnny's out, so is your plan.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm perfectly placed.
Well, I might be too.
What are you talking about?
Tony asked me to meet her at the club this afternoon.
For what?
Well, I'm a man. She's a woman. Would you like me to draw you a diagram?
Lois, how's the undercover work coming?
Fine, Chief. Fine.
Well, I didn't think you would chicken out on me.
A rash of fires has broken out in the Metro gang-controlled West River area, with accusations of arson being bandied about while Superman and the firefighters battle the deadly blazes. Lex Luthor poses himself for an attack on the area by proposing to buy it up and rebuild it under his name as a new community for shopping and homes. Meanwhile, Lois goes undercover to try and discover who's behind the fires that pop up only in this area, only to find that Clark has decided to also go undercover there as extra support and protection for Lois. The newly installed head of Metro Gang, Tony, is a different type of leader for this group, a thinker and planner rather than the old school control through force and intimidation method. Lois follows Tony to discover that Tony has actually been the one behind the arsonists known as the Toasters, having them threaten businesses in the area so she could more easily take over. The Toasters mutiny on her, deciding to try and take over themselves. Superman shows up and uses his freeze breath to stop the Toasters in their tracks, and then, using his super breath, manages to send storm clouds over to the location of the fire. Tony is sent to jail, with Lex reminding her of his reach, preventing her from telling the truth, that he was the one behind it all, and he also happened to buy up the West River properties for cheap due to Tony blundering the Metro Gang takeover.
That's exactly how I pictured your apartment.
Oh, well, actually, I was thinking of remodeling. Thanks for not blowing my cover.
Well, that's what friends are for. Tonight you looked as though you could use one.
Lex, what were you doing at the club?
I was meeting with a new leader of the Metro Gang. She called me. According to her, we have similar interests in the West River district.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
Well, so do I, but she talks a good line. Slum clearance, uplifting the neighborhood, micromanagement, growth and prosperity.
Do you believe her?
Not for a minute. In fact, I think the whole thing was designed to get me to slow down my own plans for reviving the area.
Oh.
She even suggested a partnership of sorts.
Huh. Lex, what are you doing here?
I came to warn you. I think Tony's hiding something.
What?
I wish I knew. I only know that if I were a smart reporter looking for answers, looking for the source of all the problems in West River, I wouldn't look any farther than Tony Taylor.
Thanks for the tip. Guess I owe you one.
Well, don't think I won't try to collect. Good night.
Okay, so let's get deep into our investigation.
There's some deleted scenes here that our reactions found for us from the original scripts. Nothing major, but the episode had a little extra scene right after the credits. It was a scene of someone lighting up a match and then starting to smoke in the Daily Planet, and then Lois comes out and blows the match out and chastises him, saying, "Can't you read that sign?" You know. And I was a little confused. I was like, why would this be in there right after the credits? But then I was thinking maybe it's because the episode had to do with fire and arson, so seeing the match light, like close up like that on the camera might have made you think that we were going to see who's starting the fires. Right. That's what I was thinking. And then it was just like a misdirect. That's my belief anyway. During the press conference, there was an extra line from Luther, trying to tell people about how he's going to take over and improve things. And he says something, he goes, when the tree is sick, you don't just trim the branches. You have to treat the whole tree. And then Clark says, "Oh, yeah, what? You chop it down and plant a bigger one?" Lex ignores that and goes on with his spiel. It was a good line.
It's pretty funny.
But they've already hammered home in that scene already enough, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly how he feels. So it was fine to cut that out. Tony actually has a conversation where she references other brothers who tried to run the organization. So apparently this is not the first time one of her brothers took over. One of them died, so one of the brothers was shot or something like that. And then the other brother, she said, "We won't be seen for like 234 years, referencing the fact that he's probably serving multiple life sentences, And yeah, the impression was that they all had the same viewpoint that her brother did, Johnny did. So they were doing the same old, kind of like old school mob enforcement. So they were all cut from the same cloth. This was like their dad, except for Tony. So it was neat.
Could have gotten a bit muddled, though, just talking about this backstory.
It could have, yeah, probably could have. Clark's cover was scripted as being much more of a disgruntled sailor. So the way he is now, I'm not sure if this is just the way that at this point he's acting because he's new to acting, but he was supposed to be much more disgruntled. When he comes in, he's supposed to have more of a mean look on his face, mad. He bangs his fist on the bar, and it was supposed to cause a bunch of glasses to shake and fall. And then while he's trying to, drinking this beer and the whiskey or whatever, he sees a drunk at the end of the bar, and he's acting all drunk. So Clark starts to pick up on that and takes cues from the drunk and starts acting drunk, saying, "Don't you want to know why I got off my ship?" And so it was scripted just a little bit differently, and I don't know if they changed it because they're like, well, let's have him play it the way he feels comfortable, or maybe they thought he couldn't handle that much of a disgruntled demeanor. I'm not sure, but that's what it was. That's what it said in the script.
Interesting.
I mean, again, not changing the story, just a bit of a different direction, just slightly different.
Yeah.
Let's see. Clark mentions to Lois, "Do you like my tux? It's Italian." And she says, "What'd you do? Fly to Rome? I've been looking for you all day." So just a throwaway line there about, his use of getting the tux by flying over to Rome, since he has such, So yeah, neat little lines, but again, nothing that changes the story. Nothing story changing at all.
Yeah, probably just like choices that the director made in going with certain scenes. Yeah.
How'd you find me?
I had a tip.
We've got to get out of here before the toasters come back.
Superman already took care of that.
Looks like you came through for me.
Looks like you let me down.
I had to create a situation that would allow me to take over the metros. There was no other way.
There's always another way.
Charlie, please.
My name's not Charlie. It's Clark Kent. I work at the Daily Planet.
I guess both of us were hiding the truth.
Yeah.
So, what happens now?
I think you know.
Can I talk you out of it? I guess not. I'll miss you, Charlie.
All right, well, let's get into our main story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, of course, the lead on this story is the fires that are going on around town and this mob, the Metro gang, over at West River. So it does open with, like, all these fires going on, Superman working with the fire department. I thought this was actually a really cool thing, you know? I think people are always happy to sort of show firefighters as true heroes, you know?
Yes.
And this whole scene with Superman helping them, but acknowledging that these men are like the true real life heroes. I thought it was a really good, strong opening.
Oh yeah, definitely. And what I like is that he's working with them. He's not just doing it all himself, you know, because he is so fast and everything. He could probably get a lot of it done himself. You know what I mean? But with working with the fire department means, you know, it shows the teamwork that they have. It shows the respect they have for each other. Like, I don't want to get off on a tangent, but it's not something that we've seen a lot of in the current movie incarnation of Superman. Working with firefighters and police departments. Whatever your opinions are of the movie, you know, it sort of casts Superman in a more negative light.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I think at the same time, it is showing you that there's a lot going on. Like, a lot of Metropolis is on fire right now. So
Right, yeah.
Superman's running around, you know, he's covered in soot and everything. But yeah,
Exactly.
he is... Yeah, he's working with them to try and get all this under control because there is, like, something really bad is going on. Like, a large portion of the city is on fire at the moment. Yeah,
because I like this positive version, like Superman. You know, I think it's great. I mean, nothing against I like the movie, the new movie, you know. But it's not, you don't get to see as much good Superman as you would like to, you know. And this is what I like. I like seeing Superman being respected, you know, and him respecting others. It's just, this is my favorite.
Yeah, and if memory serves, we are going to get into it a little bit, that side of the Superman mythology of where did he come from and can we as a city trust Superman to keep himself in check? You know, obviously we as humans don't have the power to control Superman or lay any limits on him. So can we trust him to enforce his own power? In a way. So I think we're getting there. But yeah, this is kind of like the start of it, you know, just showing that he's getting involved in the community and people are starting to respect him as the hero that he is.
Right. Like he said, he's here to help.
Yeah, for sure. This is linked back to the Metro gang. Like, Lois figures the link out, that it's all got something to do with the West River, and who controls the West River? Well, it's the Metro gang. So she's going to go undercover in this mob club as a dancer. And I think, you know, we've seen Lois sort of get involved in this investigative reporting, but I think this is maybe the first time that we've seen her, like, really try to go in undercover, right?
Yeah, because we saw it in the pilot. At the end of, you know, her stint undercover as that, you know, the guy, when she walks into the Daily Planet and takes off the mustache and beard and everything. But this is the first time we actually get to see her do it, you know, actually go undercover.
Yeah, and I thought it was really good too, you know, this whole audition process that the mob guy is going through, you know, trying to get a new dancer and stuff. And there's this woman who's, you know, it's insinuated that she was sleeping with him.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, okay, next, you, the one with the legs. And then it's just does that slow pan up Terry Hatcher's long legs.
Yes.
Baby, you're in, you know, she doesn't even have to do anything.
Yeah, no, that was definitely ooh, that was a good scene. Get some water here. Okay.
Ooh. Yeah. And of course, Lex is involved in this.
Yes.
And of course, his plan here is that with the destruction of West River, he can go ahead and just demolish the whole thing and rename it, funnily enough, Lex Harbor.
Right. Yes. You know, I like that he's involved in all this stuff, like on the, you know, like you don't realize how involved until later in the episode, of course, but it's like when I first watched these episodes, like I knew he was a bad guy. I knew that he was involved, but I didn't realize like how much he was involved. Like I just, oh yeah, he's a bad guy, you know, he's doing this and that. But like looking back at it now with a more critical eye, and I'm like analyzing it, and like, man, he's got his fingers everywhere, just like he does in the comics. You know, he's always pulling strings. You know, he's working things to his own advantage, even though people don't realize it. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think this episode in particular really shows us the extent of his vanity. Like he names everything after himself. You know.
Yes.
Of course, there's the big one, Lex Corp, and there was Lex Harbor.
Yep.
Before this, we've seen Space Station Luthor, Lex Corp Tower, and even into the next episode, we get things like was it like LexCorp News and just everything that's his is branded with his name.
Right. Does it become? Do they do LNN? Is that what it is later, or something like that? For some reason, I thought I saw that somewhere. I mean, maybe not in this episode. Maybe I'm just remembering from the past. I don't know. LNN, Lex Luthor News Network or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I could see them doing that.
We'll have to keep an eye out for it. But yeah. I know, it just cracks me up. Just everything's got this Lex or this Luthor to tie in.
Right.
Just to show this his reach, his finger in every pie. Then we have the whole thing with the Metro gang. Now, the mob boss guy, his name's Johnny.
Yeah.
I mean, it was telegraphed what was going to happen here, right?
Oh, yeah.
His sister is just going to come in, Tony. You know, she talks a big game.
Yes.
Talking about, like, we don't need to do all this, like, behind the shadows mob stuff anymore. You know, it's kind of like the plot of Austin Powers. Like, we can make so much more money as a legitimate business than we ever could as the mob.
Exactly.
So the fact that it comes around that she is still doing, like, mob stuff to get in there, I don't know how I felt about it.
Well, yeah, because it's so old school. You know, it just doesn't work that. I mean, it's out of place, you know, in this time, like, you know, like you said, you can do a lot more as a legitimate thing than just, you know, trying to beat people up or offer protection, you know, it's like, and it's much easier to like try to, like if they were trying to offer protection to people, there's a lot more ways to record that today, to get proof of that today, you know, and, you know, have them, you know, prosecuted through the proper channels. So it definitely doesn't fit, I think.
And I'm not quite sure what she thought they were going to do legitimately.
As a legitimate, they don't really make that clear, I think.
She just says, we have the city and the reach with the people and stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but what do you do? Like, are you selling something? Are you campaigning for something? I don't know.
What's the actual business going to be? Yes, exactly. Maybe there'll be bodyguards or something, you know, official mob bodyguard, you know. I don't know. But yeah, they don't make that clear. Just you're supposed to get the feeling that you know, that she's the smart one and Johnny is the not so smart one. That's the main thing to take away from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And of course, the Toasters, they're this gang that is burning down West River.
Right.
And they bust into the club, allowing Clark to get in undercover as well.
Yeah.
Because, he comes in as this sailor guy. Even though I think it could have added something to it, that extra stuff that we had in the trivia there, I still think it's kind of funny. They play it for a bit of a gag, the fact that he comes in and he's got this beard, goatee beard, and, you know, he's talking about, oh, you know, I'm so down. And then he looks at the bartender and says, don't you want to know why I'm down? And the guy's just like, no.
Exactly.
It does kind of play like that thing of like, I'm not sure how to act drunk. I don't really drink, so I don't go to bars. But from what I know in movies and TV shows or whatever, I go to a bar and I talk to the bartender about my problems, and they can help me out. But this guy's just got no interest in talking to him.
The thing that I thought, now, he, you know, of course he gets hired. After he gets hired, Tony knows that there's a leak. She knows there's a mole somewhere. But then Clark starts like asking her like these, not personal questions, but questions about, you know, the business end of her things, like what's going on with it all. Like he starts talking about this stuff. And I was just thinking, that's not a good way to keep your cover, because she knows someone is giving out information. So he would be like the first suspect, I would imagine.
It's a good point.
You know, like I was like, why is he asking about this? Keep it quiet, Clark. Keep it quiet. Let it come out naturally. But he just starts talking to her about it. But she is like, you know, you get the feeling that she likes him. You know, she wants to be with him. So maybe that just sort of is out of her mind at that moment because she's just attracted to him.
Yeah, and he did technically save her life.
Right.
When the toasters busted in.
So she's probably not thinking that way.
Yeah, and it turns out that she was in no danger at all anyway because the toasters work for her. They were supposed to just come in and burn the club down. They kind of arrived early, so she was still there. But yeah, I guess technically he saved her life and... maybe she just doesn't suspect him for that. The other thing that I found weird, though, was that the toasters bust in and they start burning the place down. Clark saves everybody, gets them out, uses his cool breath to put out the fire. And then Lois comes back in and he goes, you know, I think we just met the toasters. And there it is, burnt on the wall, the toasters.
Right.
And I was thinking, why would they do that if their intention was to have the whole building burned down?
Yeah, that's true. And because maybe they were just marking their territory. I have no explanation. I don't know.
Yeah, it just kind of stood out to me. I was just like, okay, I'll let that go.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to just threaten. Because this was the Metro Gang's headquarters, so maybe they were trying to threaten them, hoping that they would fall in, and just sort of go along with the toasters or given I don't know.
I guess it does technically belong to Tony, so maybe she wouldn't order them to burn it down fully.
Right.
So you're right. Maybe it was just come in, send a message, if you will.
Right. Exactly, and that would help push the I don't know. Yeah. So let's go with that. Let's go with that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Now, speaking of the toasters, now do you haven't hear about how Tony created and supplied the toasters? Did she, or did she get those from Lex? I was thinking she got them from Lex.
Yeah, I think at the end when it seems that Lex always gets these scenes where he's on the telephone with someone.
Right.
So when he's there and we only ever get his side of the conversation, don't know who he's talking to. I think he says that he supplied her with the quote-unquote toaster technology. So he was like, it's all well and good. Superman caught the toasters. They can destroy the weapons all they like. I think it'll be fine. We can recreate that technology. But yeah, I actually thought the same thing. I was like, okay, she's the leader of the toasters, but where in the hell did she get these toaster guns from?
Exactly. I mean, she's smart. You could be smart, but you're not that smart,
So yeah, so in the meantime, Tony and Clark get quite close to each other now that she's overthrown her brother. And again, a bit more jealousy being shown by Lois.
Yeah, so this is where we start to really see it here, especially when he kisses her and she's like, what? Oh. He's like waving her, get out, get out of here. I'm distracting her. I'm not really kissing her.
I thought Lois was actually really good in this episode too. Just all her reactions to stuff. When she goes back to the planet and she's still wearing her waitress outfit and everyone's looking at her. This was very light on Perry this episode. But even when he came in and talked about, I thought you might chicken out.
Yes.
Really good stuff. But yeah. The stuff when he's kissing Tony and stuff like that. And she's like, oh. And of course she's just going to keep following Tony everywhere because I'm just trying to get the story here.
Right, but there's definitely jealousy there.
Yeah. It's good. They play it so well, I think.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Then we get to meet the toasters, the big reveal that Tony is behind the toasters.
They're not very quick-thinking guys.
She meets with them, and the leader, the guy she's put in charge of the toasters. Oh, God, that guy. I don't know what the casting agents were thinking, but why this guy? It was way too over the top, even for this show. Yeah.
It's a stereotypical bad guy, Just he's bad to be bad. Now we're taking over. Ha ha, It was not the best part of the episode.
And we keep getting these bad guys who think they can take on Superman.
Yes.
We talked about this last week with the wrestler dude with the robot arms. These toaster guys just think they can just shoot Superman with their flamethrower and it's all good.
I know. They just don't, I guess, I don't know. If I was a criminal in there and this guy showed up who can fly and you've seen him, go into fires and not have to worry, and explosions, and not come out, he comes out unharmed. If I was a criminal, I'd be like, I'm going to think about this before I try any crime, because if he shows up, I'm not sure if this gun's going to do anything. You know, fire or not, I think we might have a problem here.
Yeah.
Time to go get that job at McDonald's.
But the thing is, though, is when they shoot him with the toaster guns, he does actually catch on fire a bit.
Oh, yeah.
So it's showing that, like, everything he's got on isn't flame retardant or anything. He has to pat it all out.
Yeah. I mean, it won't hurt him, but it's just, yeah, he is on fire.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if they're going to get into this a bit more. Like, sort of, recreating the suit again and again, trying to make it better and stronger or something like that.
Right.
I'm not sure if it's something they'll ever get into.
Like, I'm trying to remember, and I don't want to, like, see, there's some stuff I remember, and then I don't want to say anything because I know you don't remember a lot of it, because I think I remember a good deal of the things that come up. I don't think they get into that, though.
Well, it's just that thing, because we saw the suit-making montage. We know it's just material.
Right.
The only thing that is Kryptonian is the S.
Exactly.
And we saw that scene of him, trying to get the bomb stains out while he was talking to his mother.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, if they're going to keep bringing this up, these problems he has with the outfit, then maybe they're going to address it. But yeah, I think you're right. Thinking about it, I'm not sure they get too deep into it.
Yeah.
But of course, Superman, he stops the toasters. Everything's good. And then Lex just leaves Tony to be arrested. And this time it's a bit different, He actually talks with her about how he is going to get away with his involvement. Now, did you buy any of this? I mean, it was different. I'm not sure why she wouldn't say anything.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that he could definitely reach into the women's prison. Like, the way he is, I'm sure that he has, like, people either on the staff or on the staff of the women's prison, or he would even go so far as to have a convict under his payroll that would be transferred there or something, and she would be dead. Like, he would take care of her if she said anything. I think he would do something, because that's how powerful he is. He could do things like that. So I think that's why she, like, just, like, what's the word? She faltered, or she gave in, because she knows, like, she was trying to take over and thinking, oh, I'll just get some help from Lex, because he has these, connections. But then she finds out at the end, well, geez, he had this thought out even further than I had thought he did, and then when he says about the threat, she's like, all right, I'm not saying anything. I'm done. Yeah,
that's kind of where I thought it was going. I guess maybe I just hoped it would be a little bit more menacing. It just seemed, I don't know, maybe just a little bit too tidy.
Well, yeah, okay, I get that. I was just thinking, that's the way Lex is. It's like he doesn't, to him, this situation is nothing. It doesn't bother him. This is just normal human people that he's dealing with here, and he knows he has the upper hand. It's with Superman where he loses his cool, because he is not controllable, whereas he knows that he can control people. He can't control Superman. So I think that's why it was just so tidy, because he's like, oh, I got this. I've been planning it this way for, many, many months, so it's all good. Nothing to worry about.
I'm just that smart.
Exactly. Now, the thing we didn't talk about was that we have Lois, and she's singing, and we have Lex, who shows up while she's singing at the club. And he doesn't say anything to anybody about, who Lois is, even though he knows full well.
I know that they are developing his attraction towards Lois. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think the fact that he doesn't say anything and then he shows up at her apartment later.
Yep.
And again tries to put the screws to her, coming on very heavy, is really developing that, It's trying to show you that Lex is getting in there when we all want Clark to do that.
Exactly. And Lois doesn't see everything that he's doing behind the scenes. She doesn't see the shady part of him. She's only seeing this part of Lex. That's he saved her in that one episode, and Clark was too late to save her. He's seeing this part of her where he doesn't reveal that she's undercover. So she's seeing him as everyone else in the whole world sees him. So it's completing the whole, she's being deceived, even though she doesn't know it. Well, that's what it means to be deceived. But yeah, I thought that was cool. I like that.
Yeah, I especially liked it when, because she's back at her apartment and she's stewing over the fact that Clark said she must have been jealous.
Right.
And she's got the punnet of ice cream. And then when he knocks at the door and she's got the spoon in her mouth and everything, and he's just leaning against the door, and then he puts his finger in the ice cream and says, do you have another spoon?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, man. Yeah, he's coming on so hard. I don't think Lois quite knows what to make of it.
Well, she hasn't seen Clark like that. you know?
So, yeah, I think it's an interesting progression for their relationship. And, of course, we did see her last week after Lex, quote-unquote, saved her.
Yes.
And how enamored she became with him.
Exactly.
Sort of just walking straight past Superman and going, Lex, you saved me.
Yeah. So they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job on the love triangle here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, a few bylines here. A couple of new powers we get to see this week, yeah?
Yeah, we get the heat vision finally.
Finally, the heat vision, if only used to warm a cup of coffee.
Exactly. That's okay. Small steps, small steps.
Yeah, but that was good, you know. Lois makes the note that the coffee's cold, and then she gets her coffee mixed up with Clark's, and suddenly she's like, oh, my coffee's hot. Weird.
And we got the freeze breath as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about this. I'm like, why not just say that, yeah, there's problems with the freezer and get it fixed? Because there obviously is problems with the freezer, and Clark's not going to be there the whole time, you know?
And the fact that they used it a few times in a few different ways, I was like, okay, so yeah, you're using freeze breath to put out fire.
Right.
And then you're using it to make rain. And then you're also using it to freeze ice cubes for some random reason. Like you said, it's like, why would you do that?
I'm okay with them using it in different ways because, see, this is what they do. I don't know if you're watching The Flash, but that's what they do on The Flash. New ways to use just his single power of running. You know, and they really do a good job of coming up with different ways to use that, you know, to make it unique and interesting. So it's okay. I'm okay with them using the freeze breath in different ways to get different results. I think it's cool. I think it's good.
Yeah, maybe it's just that it's one of my least favorite of Superman's powers. I'm just freeze breath, really?
Well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're not doing this podcast back in the Silver Age, because, you know, he had super ventriloquism, you know, he had like super, you know, like hearing ability all around across the, I don't know. There's a lot of more, there's more like ridiculous powers back then. I remember just so many weird things that he was able to do. He was so overpowered.
Yeah, and I remember actually that his power of flight kind of evolved, because back in the day it used to literally just be he could leap tall buildings in a single bound.
Yeah.
He could just jump very high. He couldn't necessarily fly, and he was super strong, so he could land pretty well as well.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, I believe, I'm not positive, but I thought that the reason he started flying was when they started making the old cartoons, the Fleischer cartoons. Have you seen those?
No, I haven't.
There was these Fleischer cartoons that came out, I want to say in the 40s, and it was the first Superman cartoons, and they were so well done. Like these, like for being from the 40s, you know, you think of cartoons from the 40s and you think, you know, they're okay, but they're nothing like what came later. But these Fleischer cartoons were really quite amazing for the time. Like the animation was really fluid. Like it was really well done. And I think there was something about how when he was jumping, it was hard for them to draw that, or it was something about it was hard for them to animate that for some reason. I don't know if it had to do with the backgrounds, and so, there was a special technique or something they were doing, and it was hard to draw him jumping for some reason. I don't know why that was. And so they decided to make him just fly, and then that just sort of caught on after that. But those Fleischer cartoons, you can find those. I think you can find them all on like YouTube now. Even they're just about everywhere. But they're a good watch, definitely.
Have to track them down.
Yeah, there's like, I think maybe 8 of them, maybe 12. There's not very many. I know I had them all on like one VHS tape back in the day. Like I actually bought it and it was just like they were all on one VHS tape. So they were definitely, I think, less than 2 hours total.
Cool, nice one.
Yeah, they were fun. They were very similar to the George Reeves show as well.
All right. Well, what about Lois's singing skills?
Oh, she sings good. Like that. I assume that's her really singing. Like I didn't find
sounded
anything
like
that said
her.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would assume it's her. You know, she does sing good, and I don't know if you remember, but I know that we're going to see her sing again at some point. So yeah, we're going to get more of that. It's kind of like Remy in Sliders. You know, we're going to get some more music along the way.
And I guess that's where the episode title comes from. I Got a Crush on You, because really that doesn't really have anything else to do with anything. I mean,
well,
they could have made a fire pun or something.
Well, yeah, they could have, but I think that the whole thing is that we've got Tony, who has a crush on Clark. You know, we've got Clark, who obviously has a crush on Lois, and we got Lois, who's just starting to develop her crush on Clark. So we're kind of getting it kind of works on multiple levels.
Yeah, fair enough.
Of course, we wouldn't know that Clark really has a crush on her because when he has to take Lois out back and get rid of the trash, he has a choice. And he throws her really into the trash.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was weird because he uses his X-ray vision. Says the one has shredded paper, the other one has proper like food scrap garbage in there.
Yeah.
And he opts for the food scrap garbage, and he says, "You'll thank me for this later." And I'm like, "Why? Why? If you're gonna throw her in the trash,
right?
Why wouldn't you just throw her in, the relatively nice paper trash?"
Well, I think sometimes he's a normal human guy, and he gets a little upset with her, he gets a little annoyed with her, and I'm gonna take her down a peg, He
did do that with the sewer thing. I don't know.
Exactly.
It was just kind of like a schoolyard cooties kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
If I tease her, then she'll like me even more.
Yeah, it was funny.
Okay. The other point I wanted to make up to Clark's obsession with tea. I mean, he just every episode he's brought up tea from the get-go. He really likes tea.
I don't know. Maybe it has to do with it's less addicting than coffee. Maybe because technically caffeine would be a drug. So maybe that's what he figures. Superman wouldn't be addicted to something like coffee.
It's true. And they did the whole alcohol thing too. When he's give me a double and he can just shoot them back. He's not going to get drunk.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just every episode he's bringing up tea, and I just it started with the pava leaves and. Mm-hmm. Talked about how his mother used to make him Earl Grey tea all the time, and right. And now it's just like he's brought up with Lois, and then he has the scene with Tony talking about the tea, and I'm just like, I don't know, I don't get his obsession with tea, but
he's a tea guy. It's all good.
I guess it's just an embellishment for the character or something.
I mean, I'm not much of a coffee guy, but I would drink tea. I don't really drink many hot beverages really, but yeah, I go for iced tea a lot. So
Yeah. And lastly, the gag of Lois describing her jealousy exactly the way it happened, but playing it off like a joke. What did you expect me to do? Just go home and drown my sorrows over a tub of ice cream?
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yep, definitely. Well
Very
done.
funny.
Good character developments here.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I guess it's quote vote time.
What's everybody standing around for? This is a newspaper. Not happy hour at Buckingham Palace. What are we here, the Daily Planet? Or second stringers from the Weehawken Gazette?
Am I making myself perfectly clear?
All right, so what happened?
Well, we need more people voting.
Come on, people. It's your American duty. It's your worldwide duty to vote here.
Every week we put it up. We give you a few days before we record to come in and vote over at facebook.com/Lois and Clark Rewatch. So come on over. We always put up 3-4 options, and you can vote on which one you think you would love to hear us do in our
only
terrible
can
impressions.
Enact change for this podcast. It's up to you, the worldwide listener and voters here, that we need to make change in these podcast times. You gotta put some, patriotic music behind this or something. Exactly.
But yeah, people get involved. We love to hear from you guys out there, and we want to know that you're out there and participating and enjoying Lois and Clark with us, and come and have some fun.
We just want to hear from you. We want to know what the people want. So get on over there and vote. Exercise your right. That's a bad Bill Clinton.
I almost thought it was a little bit more George Bush.
There you go. So
but it was Bill Clinton.
It's my Klibush. That's what it is. It's my combination. I don't know. Anyway.
Okay, but it's a short one this week, so
right.
Let's get into it. All right.
Yep.
Cue the music.
Christopher Walken is auditioning for Kermit the Frog.
I got steam heat. I got steam heat. I got...
You got nothing.
But, Kermit, last night, you said I had talent.
Last night you did. Next. Yay!
And
scene. Chris and Kermit, what did you guys do last night? Oh, man. Ruining childhoods every week.
Yeah, got that visual in my head now. All right, so let's get into our second episode discussion today. The episode is titled Smart Kids, written by Daniel Levine, directed by Robert Singer, and this originally aired on October 31st, Halloween of 1993.
And by the way, Robert Singer is going to be a bigger player soon.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, so we're going to hear more from him as we go through the seasons here.
Yeah, well, let's find out just how spooky this episode is.
If only.
All right, let's get started. Kent, what's up at the governor's office?
We can expect a fiscal turnaround sometime next year.
Oh, well, now, that's some news. Washington?
3 more people are claiming to be the president's brother.
Boy, his father was a busy man, wasn't he?
Those kids are still missing from the Beckworth school.
Oh, Jimmy, come on. We've been using that as filler for the last 3 days. Nothing's changed. Now, what happened to your nose for news? Scandals?
The usual.
Now, look, kids. There are 12 million people in the city of Metropolis. There's bound to be something of significance happening somewhere.
We interrupt your regular programming to bring you the special report. Smart kids still at large. Authorities search for clues to kids' whereabouts. Meanwhile, the kids say, leave us alone. Don't look for us. Don't try to get us back. Or else. We now rejoin our show in progress.
A group of orphans, chemically experimented on to increase their IQ, escape their orphanage home and start taking over Metropolis, first by hijacking the airwaves, then messing up the water supply, and later hacking into ATM machines to fund their every desire. While investigating the missing kids, Lois and Clark learn about a chemical called Metamine 5, which when tested on lab rats, results in them becoming abnormally smart, but also eventually rendering them brain dead after the chemical has been completely absorbed into their system. When one of the smart kids, Amy, returns to the orphanage to rescue her little sister, she is caught and later released into the custody of Lois, who after a rough start begins to bond with the young girl and learns of the smart kid's addiction to the chemical. The doctor who performed the procedures on the kids crosses his behind-the-scenes boss, Lex Luthor, when he decides to stop performing the experiments and, as a result, is force-fed a new and improved version of the chemical, which results in him becoming brain-dead much quicker, thereby eliminating any possibility of exposure. Unfortunately, the smart kids capture Luthor, hoping to release him after a ransom is paid. Amy helps Lois track down their hidden headquarters, and Superman arrives, trying to convince the leader, Philip, that it's better for him to grow up naturally, rather than trying to be super smart now before he's truly ready for that. Lex tries to argue, but to no avail, as Philip heeds Superman's advice, and the ordeal ends.
See? You'll get all the channels now, and you won't even have to pay for them.
Thank you, Amy. I'm so pleased. Could we just talk in a calm, rational manner?
Sure, because before you were yelling.
I was not. I may have raised my voice. Does this stuff come off?
You just want me to tell you where the other kids are, because you're a reporter, and you think we'd make a good story. And that's why you took me, right?
Of course not.
Wrong answer.
Amy, if you and the other kids are in trouble, I can help you. Who did this to you?
Did what?
Took you out of the school.
No one. We're on our own, okay? And we don't need you or any other stupid old adults butting in.
Really? Well, then why don't you just leave and go back to them? I'm not exactly in a position to stop you.
This is a nice place. I like it here.
Wrong answer.
Okay. I can't risk being followed back. Besides, my sister Inez likes you. She's a good judge of character.
You know, we do have something in common. My parents are divorced, and I have a little sister, too.
You don't know anything about me or my family.
That's not true. I talked to your mother. She's very concerned.
My mother doesn't care anything about me.
Amy, sometimes it's very helpful to talk to an impartial, understanding adult.
You?
Alright, so let's get into the investigation.
Okay, so when they steal the Metamai 5 in the opener there, Dudley, one of the smart kids, asks a very complex math problem. You know, something like, what's 5,895 times the square root of blah, 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 whatever. So he asks that. They all drink, and then someone answers the math problem. Just to sort of reinforce, okay, they weren't so smart before, but now they're smarter because they took more of the Metamide 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. In the aired version, Jimmy, he points out that he was right about the missing kids story. He's like, yeah, that's right, Perry. See, who says, about a nose for news, And, Perry says, like, good job, kid, But see, in the script, Perry just ignores Jimmy and doesn't give him the accolades that he deserves. So it's more in fitting with the, first or second episode Perry. But, he knows now, at this point that, Jimmy's trying, he's really trying to do a good job, and he could be a good reporter someday. So he's giving him what he's due.
And it is a recurring theme.
Exactly.
Of Jimmy bringing up these stories that turn out to be actually a lot bigger than they appear.
Yeah, exactly. So Lois making Clark pay the cab driver wasn't in the script, so that was just added in at the last second. While they're at the ATM, I don't know where this came from. Okay, while they're at the ATM and, they end up getting the smart bucks, the smart kids bucks, for some reason, Clark and Lois are talking about musicals. And he can't believe that Man of La Mancha is Lois's favorite. He's like, what about Fiddler on the Roof? What about this? What about that? And she says, what can I say? I love windmills. What? I don't know where this conversation came from. It doesn't seem to have to do with anything, unless, if you count, if you want to really go deep, if you want to think that they were thinking this deeply, because Man of La Mancha, Don Quixote chasing windmills that he'll, they're not really there. Maybe, or he thinks that the windmills are dragons, right? Have you seen Man of La Mancha?
No, but it does
okay.
sound awfully interesting.
Well, it's a really good musical, actually. It really is. There's some good music in there. But, I tried to read the book. The book is really hard to read. Miguel Cervantes is the writer of it. It's a long read, and definitely I liked the musical much better because it condenses it and whatnot, and, makes it more entertaining, which I'm sure classical literature people are like, oh, how could you say that, But he's like, he fights these windmills thinking they're dragons. He's an older knight and basically living in the past in his mind. So he's fighting things that aren't really there. But maybe this has to do with something with Lois, like trying to be like she loves Superman, but Superman's not really, the true person. Clark is the true person, and maybe Superman is like the windmill. You know what I mean? Like maybe she sees Superman as like this dragon, but really it's Clark that she's in love with, who's the windmill. I'm trying really hard. The reason why they might put this conversation in there, and it's so like deep. I can't imagine that this is it. But
yeah,
anyway.
on the other hand, it could have just been just something random that the writer put in there, and then later they were like, this has nothing to do with anything. Let's have them maybe actually talk about something that's happening in this episode.
Exactly. But hey, this is what we do. I'm trying to figure it out.
Try my best.
There's a little extra dialogue discussing Amy being in Lois's care, and Clark's just going over some of the details of what they've done so far and what the kids have done so far to show that they're really smart, and Lois is just still in denial. It's just kind of like a repeat of information that we didn't need,
Yeah.
There was some extra dialogue with Philip when Superman finally busts in at the end. Philip is like, oh, good job, Superman. You finished game 1. Like, what do you mean game 1? Well, it was hide and seek, and you found Luther. But be careful, because game 2 is pin the tail on the donkey, referring to the needles that were going to go into Lex.
Ugh.
Yeah. a little cheesy. As if we don't have enough already. Extra dialogue was in there with Lex trying to woo Philip, when they're having the conversation back and forth. And he's like, you're special. You're not different. I want to give you special treatment, And, Superman is like countering all that. And he says, turn on the, Metropolis Park. Let's look at Metropolis Park. And they go right to the scene of the kid flying the kite. In the original version, they were going to first watch a bunch of kids playing in the park. And they saw like the kids' parents watching them and laughing and enjoying the kids, playing. And Superman says, do you know why those parents are laughing and smiling and why they're watching the kids? And Philip doesn't know. And he says, because they know what it's like to be a kid, to not have responsibilities. They're envious of their kids. They're enjoying that, you know, because Philip doesn't understand what it is to be a kid because he's always had this chemical. So he's always thought more on an adult level. And so, you know, Philip is like, but I am a kid. And Superman's like, but does it feel like it? And that's when they go to the kite scene.
I can see why they cut it, because he is an orphan too, so it's like...
Exactly.
Look at these parents watching their child and having a great time. Exactly. Something you don't have.
Yeah, rub it in, Superman. Ha ha, you don't have parents.
Exactly. Like, yeah, I can see why they cut that.
Exactly. And then finally, we got Jimmy, who makes just a throwaway line at the end. He's like, you know, I wish I had some of that smart stuff. And I'm like, really? Why would you want that? Because women like brainy guys. Everyone laughs and we cut the black. Yeah.
Freeze frame, credits.
Freeze frame, yes. Exactly. So, yeah. And again, these deleted scenes come via iReactions, who, of course, reads the scripts for us and finds any differences and sends them off to us. So we appreciate that. Thank you, man.
Good man.
How come you're not wearing your suit, Superman?
I don't have a suit. I'm not Superman.
Here's what we want. An F-18 Hornet fighter jet, painted red and yellow, 4 mountain bikes, an emerald, 10 carats at least, 3 aqualungs, 100 pounds of gooey bears, and an island. That's all we can think of for now, Superman.
I'm not him. I wish I was. What makes you think that I am Superman?
We saw you land.
Land?
In the alley, last night behind the Daily Planet.
Oh, I didn't land there. Superman did. I was just waiting for him. As a matter of fact, he'd been out looking for you. He hadn't found anything, so I left and went up to my office.
Well, why'd Superman be looking for us?
He's worried about you. So am I. Are you guys okay?
Where'd Superman go after you left?
Down a manhole. Check the sewers to see if you were somewhere down there.
That could be true. We don't have underground surveillance. Well, not yet.
Ow. Ow. Ah.
We'll think about it and call you back tomorrow. Superman doesn't bleed, does he? I don't know.
Alright, so let's get into our main story here. The lead is a bunch of kids taking drugs, right?
Yep.
And getting real smart.
Yes.
All right. From the get-go, the absolute get-go, these kids are just pissing me off.
I knew it. I knew you were going to have fun with this.
You know how I am about children and being actors.
Yes.
If they're not doing a good job, it takes me out of it immediately.
Right.
And I know I shouldn't say this about, you know, kids. They're trying their hardest, I know, but I've seen kids do so much better jobs, and it's just like, here, kid, memorize these words, and then they just say them. These kids aren't good.
Right.
So I'm getting that out from the get-go.
But are they better than the ones we've had in Sliders?
Well, I don't think Sliders ever did like a real like kid-centric stuff.
No, they
like
have little bits and pieces.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's hard to gauge. I don't know. How do you feel about this idea of having kids as our main villain of the episode?
I was kind of meh on the whole episode myself. Like, I don't know if it would have been even better. Like, if there were adults that were taking the drugs, I think it would have been the same for me. There's something about this particular episode, I don't know, I just didn't like. You know, I'm not sure if having adults be the victims would have helped it.
Yeah, and I know we've been saying, like, episodes have been, like, Superman light here and there, which we're not too fussed about, but this is really Superman light.
Yes.
He shows up at, like, the very end. And there was that one section where the kids, they kind of figure out that Clark Kent is Superman, which is also very annoying.
I didn't mind that. I thought it was kind of neat for him to have to go through like a ruse to try to convince him, because that was going on in the comics, you know, like where someone would try to find out who he was, and he'd have to come up with a way to prove that, he wasn't Superman. Like sometimes they used like Batman as Superman or something like, like in the comics they always pull like the old switcheroos, to prove that they could both, like Clark Kent and Superman could be in the same place at one time. So I was that's the one part that I actually didn't mind, because it was like, oh, it's like from a comic book, he has to get through this little bit here somehow. He had to think about it.
I agree. I thought that was actually pretty good, but just the whole fact that these kids figured out the secret.
Well, when you got cameras placed everywhere, I guess it's easy if you're recording and monitoring everything, I guess.
And it kind of makes you wonder how nobody else has managed to see this before.
Right.
Because I don't think the kids went out and set up cameras themselves. Like they're tapping into surveillance and CCTV. And
right.
All that, right.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Clark just needs to be more careful.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, but it does start with a slow news day.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jimmy who brought up the idea of the missing kids, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this going to be like something that's going to happen all the time? Like Jimmy's going to mention something, and they're going to be like, "No, Jimmy."
Right.
Like this is like the third or fourth episode now.
He's actually the greatest reporter ever, but nobody knows yet. That's what it is.
Yeah, but it was a good scene with them talking about it being a slow news day and Perry coming in and talking about like, what about the gossip? And Kath's just like, it's the usual.
Yeah, exactly.
But pretty much the whole thing here is that this doctor, Dr. Carlton, has been working on this smart drug and feeding it to orphan children. And now they've gotten really smart and they've kind of gone out and it's almost like a teenage sensibility in a way.
Yeah.
Where these kids just think that they just know everything, and sure enough, they're like genuinely smart, but yeah, they kind of have this angsty teen thing going, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I thought it was funny too when they're going over the pictures of the kids too, and it's just like their actors' headshots.
Right, yeah. Well, they're saving on budget,
Yeah.
This is what I was trying to figure out. This is why I said it at the beginning. The whole teaser opener there. The kids are stealing in to get the stuff, but then they go walking by Lois's apartment, and for some reason they have a pig. Why do they have a pig?
I don't know.
and then the pig comes back at the end of the episode too.
Maybe pigs were big in '93 or something. Like, don't get a dog, get a pig.
Yeah, and that's not all. When after the kids take over the airwaves, they critique a cartoon. Wasn't it starring Porky Pig?
It was too.
I'm like, what is going on with the pigs? I don't know. The only thing I could think of was maybe the pig was in the doctor's office as a test subject as well. Maybe it was a test animal.
Yeah, maybe.
But I didn't understand the whole point of the pig. And when Lois, asks, is that a pig? Like, I get, yeah, obviously, duh, it's a pig. But that joke was just like so ridiculous. And then the end of the episode where she goes, I've seen that pig before. Oh, come on. This is not, I did not like this writing. That's why I said this episode was kind of like, meh. So, like, who wrote this? This was Daniel Levine. Come on, man. Come on, Dan. You're better than this. I know you're better than this.
And while you're talking about like the fact that they go on the airwaves, like they do this for the whole episode. They take over the airwaves and they talk about like, don't look for us. We don't want you to look for us. Like we're fine. I'm just like, if you're going to keep going out on the airwaves, eventually they're going to be able to like find where the broadcast is coming from.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when they come on and they're just like, don't look for us, and then they go on to like critique cartoons and stuff, I'm like,
yeah, I was like, why are you
it's like a phone, when they're making a call, they're tracing you. How about you just like say what you got to say and then get the hell out of there.
Yeah, I did not get that whole thing. Let's critique this cartoon that's on for like 30 seconds and talk about the angst of it and everything. It's like, come on. I mean, we get that you're smart. There's other ways that they could have shown that they were really smart instead of doing that, and playing television critic, movie critic doesn't necessarily mean you're smart, because critics are wrong a lot. So whatever.
Exactly. Like, look at us.
Exactly.
Just sitting here talking about Lois and Clark.
Yeah, who are we?
Yeah, they get into the whole investigation. They head over to this children's home, orphanage, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Lois, gets the tip from this little girl called Inez.
Yes. That
her sister Amy is one of the kids there. And they do like 3 scenes of Lois trying to understand what Inez is going on about. Like, she meets her there at the children's home. She calls her later, and then she runs into her again after that. And that's finally when Inez is like, it's the doctor. Dr. Carlton's been doing stuff to the kids. And I'm like, that just took so long to play out.
Well, do you want to know what I think about that? I can't say. I can't say.
I know, it was terrible.
I was just like, oh God, well, get out of here then. What do you know?
Why are you stopping me to tell me things and then tell me that you can't tell me them?
I know.
Ugh. So annoying. But, they eventually track down Amy. She gets caught trying to break her sister out.
Right.
So Lois decides that she's going to take custody of Amy. And, of course, as soon as Lois is talking about, like, I can handle this kid, whatever, it's fine, you know what's coming. And then, sure enough, cut to it, she's all tied up with some sort of, like, smart rope or something that dissolves when you put this goo on it.
Yeah, it's like silly string, but, major silly string.
It was weird. And, again, they keep just throwing about how smart these kids are. She rewires her cable and she's invented this magic rope, and it kind of leads to her slowly running out of this stuff, which is called Metamite 5.
Which they found out about when Clark took some random, shredded pieces of paper out of the garbage.
That was the worst. It just so happens that he gets that perfect handful with the information that they need.
I mean, he could have used his X-ray vision again, maybe seen a file, on the desk or something like that,
They did that a couple of episodes back with that what's-his-face guy with the secret alien stuff.
Exactly.
So can't do
but
that
it's
again.
Okay. It's okay to do that again. The whole quickly steal some scraps of paper and hope that they all match together, which they do. It's just, a little plot contrivance there.
Yeah. And he really didn't need his super speed to do that.
No.
He's just no one's looking. I'll just stick my hand in this and take a handful of paper. But no, he has to do it with super speed to really make sure nobody sees him do it. The fact that, Clark ends up stealing some Metamite 5, and he shows it to Lois, and she's like, oh my God, did you just steal that from somewhere? I'm so proud of you. I thought that was really, really good. And at least sort of let them work out what Metamite 5 was. Because they send it off, I guess, to Star Labs again. And they test it and find what it does by, giving it to rats.
Yeah, it's good at first, but then it causes them to be brain dead.
I don't like how this kind of stuff works. I get that it could make your brain work better, you remember more and all that sort of stuff that Amy gets into, but it can't just create information out of nowhere. You would still have to learn things in order to be able to remember them.
Right, I getcha.
And they don't really go into that with the kids. It's just they drink the stuff. Now they're really smart and they just know everything.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, it cannot work like that. It can't actually put things into your head.
Yeah, I didn't think about that until you mentioned it, but yeah, that makes sense. Because it just makes you able to learn more. Opens you up to being able to remember all the stuff you might read or see. So that's true. I didn't think about that.
And then we get to a scene where Lex actually kind of kills Dr. Carlton, or I think by the end they say maybe he's brain damaged or something. So
right, that's what I was thinking. I thought he was dead too, but then when he's at the very end when they close in on him, with the camera, you could see he's still there, but he's not all there, So I'd say he's probably brain dead, and eventually, I'm sure off screen he's just dead. He's done.
But what did you think about this? Actually, Lex physically hurting someone.
I actually like it. Because I like his character being this one who's pulling the strings behind the scenes, and no one knows. No one gets. Even in this episode, Superman doesn't find out that Lex was behind this whole thing.
That's true. I guess because Lex assaulted him by pouring Metamite 6 down his throat, right?
Right.
It was purple instead of red, so that's how you know it's number 6. Who else would he think did this? Carlton did it to himself or something? I don't know.
I'm sure that he could have, without the kids there, maybe it could have been reason that he was testing it on himself, because he knew that Metamite 5 worked. So he said, well, let me get, maybe he was working on a new version and said, well, let me test it myself because the kids aren't here. I don't want to, I don't want to get into trouble with any more kids, so let's just test it on himself. And maybe he reasoned it that way,
I guess so.
Because there's nothing really that ties Lex Luthor to it.
Yeah, that's true.
So he has no reason to suspect him. But, he knows that Lex Luthor is dirty, but he can't tie, there's no proof here.
Well, I guess the only proof is the fact that the kids kidnap Lex. Like,
right.
he's attempting to draw them in to get more Metamide 5.
Mm-hmm.
Unknowing to them, they're actually going to get Metamide 6.
Yes.
But they're too smart for that, and they end up kidnapping him. So when they're holding him hostage, or the main kid is Philip, who is just the worst. Lex starts coming out with it. Like, he's like, you're special, blah, 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 all that stuff. So he is, in a sense, saying that he is behind it. Like, he's aware of it.
Right.
But there's no physical evidence for Superman to actually tie him to it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I was just thinking maybe they could have gone after Lex because he was the owner of the lab, maybe that Carlton worked for. Maybe because of the money thing. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to find ways that they could have gone after him, not to insinuate that he was behind it all.
And then it ends with the kids going back to normal, and then they scribble their thing on the ground. Superman equals Clark Kent, maybe.
Right.
And I'm just like, oh god. This is the worst. Seriously, I think this is the worst episode we've watched yet.
Of all the ones we've seen, yeah, this is definitely not one of my favorites at all.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when it came up, we're like, oh, this is the next one. I'm like, I remember not liking this one at all the first time around. Of all the kids, though, the girl who plays Amy is the only one who's really done a lot more in acting. The other ones have done little things here and there, but she went on to do some Home Improvement episodes, a couple other appearances here and there. They have some modern pictures of her over on IMDb, and she's grown up to be quite, beautiful woman. She's had some work done, I will say, but yeah, she's still, she's doing little things here and there still.
Oh, there you go.
Good on Amy. She didn't even need the smart stuff to do it.
All right, so let's do a couple of bylines here. A weird thing I just noted. Clark saves a jacked up car from falling on a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Random.
Right, yeah.
Nothing to do with anything.
No, well, it's like in the newsroom, that early episode where he saves someone from falling off the ladder. It's just his little use of these powers just to showcase. Oh yeah, he does have powers. Just helping out wherever he can, even when people don't know.
That's true. It's just I don't know. It's like the pig. They just throw something random in. I was like, okay then. All right. So what about the kids having Lex Luthor's credit card? They somehow max it out, so they rob ATMs and replace it with their smart kid dollars or whatever. And then Lex has a run-in with a masseur.
Yeah, I thought this was funny. It led to a nice little moment there with that masseuse. It was pretty funny. She was pretty intense.
I thought it was funny from the fact that the kids had his credit card, which I guess they must have lifted at some point when he visited the lab or something.
I guess, yeah.
When he has the run-in with the masseur, he actually says, I have $2 million or $4 million in that account or something like that.
Right.
It goes to show, how much the kids spent to get that broadcast going. And then they bought some stuff for their lair and whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was a lot of money.
That's a lot for, what was it, 4 or 5 kids?
Yes. Maybe they transferred it to an offshore account so they can buy the island later. Maybe we'll see the smart kids again, and they'll have their own island and be living off there, and they'll come back as criminals or something. I don't know.
I hope we never see these kids again.
No, I can assure you, we don't see them again.
All right. Another point I noted: when the kids send those balloons to Clark to tell him to meet them or something, whatever it was, they were setting up that live camera feed. There's a voiceover of Clark reading the note as if we couldn't read it ourselves or something. I don't know. Clear. It struck me as weird.
Yeah, I didn't really notice it, but yeah, now that you mentioned, I'm thinking about it. Well, yeah, because it was pretty clear to read. It wasn't that involved a note, so I don't know why. Just style choice, I guess.
Just threw me off a little bit. We're going back to Clark playing with himself.
Yes.
This time he plays a game of ping pong, which again I thought this was weird, right? Because he's getting ready to talk to the kids on the live feed, and he needs to, of course, get the apartment ready. Look like he's just a slobbish single guy who lives at home, and he's doing all this super speed stuff, including playing the ping pong right in front of the camera. I'm like, Okay, so I know it's not actually turned on. They're not looking at you. How do you know, though?
Yeah, exactly.
How do you know? It's a camera.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing all this superhero stuff?
It's just like we see when he's playing baseball with himself. It's just to show off. It's all these little things they put in there because they don't have, I guess they don't have a huge budget to do like the Superman stuff all the time. So it's like, let's show little bits of superpowers happening here and there, and that'll whet the appetite.
Yeah, I get where they're coming from. I don't know. I just find it really random when they do this.
Right.
Another good point I kind of liked was Kat not knowing what things were. Right. When the kids would say things.
Yeah.
Postmodern angst.
Yeah, it's just, they were trying to put forth, the kids are just really smart, and Kat is maybe not as smart as that, Like, most people, I think they knew what the angst was, but she was just like, that her character, wouldn't have known, I guess, is what they're trying to get through.
And one last point I want to make, and this is a big one. Superman suit under the clothes.
Right.
He rips open the shirt.
Yep, we get that iconic image, which was awesome.
Yeah, I hope we see more of this. I like that, seeing Clark being able to run off, tear open his shirt.
No, I think we definitely get a lot more of that as the episodes go on. As we get to see Superman more and more, you're going to see that.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Actually, from what I remember, he does this other transition to get into his clothes as well coming up. I forget when it happens, but he comes up with a new way to switch into his clothes. So we'll get into that when we get into it. So
if it takes place in a phone booth, I think I'm gonna have a big smile on my face.
It doesn't really happen in a phone booth. It's funny. Like, that's like the thing that everyone knows. Like, the phone booth is where Superman, changes his clothes. But that doesn't really happen a whole lot from what I remember in comics and things. It's like one of those like urban myths, where it just seems like that's what he does. But, I don't think it was like a standard thing that happened a lot. I think it happened in one thing, and then it just sort of like ballooned from there, where it just became the standard, but it wasn't the standard.
It's one of those things that people think they remember, but it's not really like the "Play It Again" Sam line from Casablanca.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not what you think it is.
So I looked at I just looked it up right now because there was a scene in Superman the movie with Christopher Reeve. And there's a point where he goes to switch into Superman. He goes up to a phone booth, but it's one of those phone booths that's like a half phone booth where you don't actually step inside, and he looks confused, like he's not sure what to do, and yeah, I'm on this page. It's called anotherthink.com, and this is just one of the articles that they put on there, and it's talking about how that's not really how how it happened. It was an urban myth that the phone booth was the normal thing.
Right.
This seems to have a religious slant to it, so I don't know. Maybe not the best, maybe not the best source to find out, but it is there, and I have heard this many times that the phone booth thing is more of a myth. Anyway, we move on.
Yeah, but all in all, this is quite the meh episode.
Exactly. I was not very impressed with this episode at all. And like I said, even if there were adults instead of kids, it's still the idea, the delivery was just the way it was presented was was not a fan. The other episode, I've Got a Crush, definitely much more enjoyable.
Hold it right there.
Dudley, cut it out. They're with me, okay?
I have my orders. Hey!
Where's Lex Luthor?
Not so fast, lady.
Guys, they're here to help us. Look, they found out that the smart stuff turns to poison if you keep using it.
It's a trick.
It's not a trick. You guys have to stop taking Metamide 5 right now.
But then we won't be smart anymore. You'll still be smart. You were always smart. You'll just be normal. Listen up. These are friends of mine, and I think we should believe them.
Where's Lex Luthor?
Philip's got him in the main spy center, down the hallway.
Go ahead, but be careful. I'll keep an eye on these three.
All right, so let's get into the back issue, shall we?
All right, so again, it's difficult to find anything this early. A lot of the stuff I see starts at like 94. So I'm assuming we'll be able to find more stuff later, when we get to like season 2 or something, or later in this season. It's just, not much comes up. I just see a lot of season episode guides, a lot of people asking for screen caps. People were wanting a lot of pictures of Terry. You know, they're like, anybody have a picture of Terry from that I Want to Crush episode with the legs? You know, I'll trade you this picture of her. You know, and it's not in the buff, but it's a pretty hot picture. Like, yeah, it's like you know, everything goes to porn on the internet. So
hey, well, they are real and they are spectacular. So
they are. There you go. The one neat thing I did see was something about the VQT having a convention, the Viewers for Quality Television. I didn't even know this was a thing. Wow. But apparently, yeah, the Viewers for Quality Television had a convention, and it was like industry people, you know, executives, some performers, and they meet and they talk, I guess, about what is good quality television programming and stuff like that. And it was reported on some newspaper, and this guy was saying that it said in the newspaper that Lois and Clark was still behind Murder, She Wrote and Sequest. So they were wondering if it's going to start bouncing around time slots. Are they going to play around with the day it's on? And then someone responded, well, in the D.C. area at least, Lois and Clark beat out Sequest. So it's second at least over here in D.C. I don't know what other people are getting, but yeah, there was a lot of discussion about will it survive this season? Will it go to a second season is what they were wondering.
Well, I do like Sequest.
I tried to get into it. I watched a couple episodes, and I don't know. Back in the day, I was just like, yeah, I'm okay. I'll pass.
Yeah, it was one of those shows that just got really muddled.
Yeah.
In the seasons, and the quality went way down after the first season. Unfortunately,
it had one of the DeLuise brothers in there, and that was my initial pull. I was like, "Oh, I love those guys," you know, because I used to watch them on 21 Jump Street. And I was like,
I think both of them ended up in the show.
Did they both end up on? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure their dad made a cameo too.
Oh, nice,
John DeLuise.
Very nice.
I'd have to say Lois and Clark is a better quality show than Sequest.
Yeah.
Personal ads? We do have just a little bit here.
Yeah, a little bit. It's funny. The personal ads kind of both follow the same theory. We're talking about sex here in the personal ads. iReactions tried to respond to our question about the pogo stick and what was up with that. And he said it could refer to his sex life because later on we do see the cheerleader, you know, outfit there, you know, off to the side. So maybe it was something that the cheerleader, you know, had a desire for, a pogo stick. And so maybe that was part of his plan to, I don't know, seduce her or something. I guess I could see that. That's an explanation. It's more than we got from the episode, you know?
Yeah. I'm not sure I want to quite get that deep into Lex's personal time.
Exactly. All right, and then we have now this was something I guess that she had mentioned. This is from the Zoomway forums, and Bev K, supporter of us here, she said she had a zero gravity club theory here. There was an episode. It was in the second episode where Kat says something. It was in a never-ending battle. That's what it was. Never-ending battle. She made a joke about Lois and Superman joining the Zero Gravity Club up on the space station. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I always thought it was just a joke, but in Bev K's mind, she came up with this theory that Lois actually did get to go to the space station with the colonists and get the interviews that she needed, and then she came back to Earth with Superman. I guess I could see that happening because he took the space shuttle up, you know, like he boosted them up, but did he go... Like, somehow Lois has to get back to Earth.
Well, yeah, he did fly Lois back to the Daily Planet after he'd done that.
So we can assume that he must have taken... he's not going to take her just out in space or something. So he must have flown the colonist up there. And then did he bring the ship back with Lois? You know, because she would have had to get off of there onto the... she would have gotten onto the space station. And then maybe she had time to get some interviews with them, and then he brought her back in the ship. Because would he carry her out in space? Because she couldn't breathe.
And they would have to get through the Earth's atmosphere.
Exactly.
Which I can't imagine would have been too pleasant for a regular human being.
Right. Yeah, you know, going through the atmosphere, no big thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe she did get the interviews that she needed. And then they brought he put her in the ship, and they came back in the ship to Earth. I think it kind of makes sense. You know, I think it kind of makes sense. They don't really ever reference the fact that she got the interviews. Like, there's no mention of that story specifically. And like, you know, we're really going like, you know, we there's no proof of any of this, but I don't know. It's a good theory. It's a good theory from Bev K there, the Zero Gravity Club theory. I like it.
And, you know, since we're talking about it, Do you reckon there are any members of the Zero Gravity Club in real life?
I don't. Well, you know.
Are NASA employees allowed to do that?
Yeah, I don't think so, because they're being monitored at all times. Yeah, as much as I think that would be fun, I don't think it's going to happen.
And not to mention, like, if somebody got pregnant up in space,
Right,
like that's
exactly.
got to like be all kinds of problems.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But I don't know. Maybe there's like a zero gravity environment here on Earth, and
we try it out.
somebody's tried that out.
Exactly.
Wow, there you go. All right, so next week, 2 more episodes. We're going to be discussing the green glow of home and the Man of Steel bars. Ah, yes, I think we're going to be getting into that. Can Superman be trusted side of things, like I was talking about?
The green glow definitely has to be kryptonite.
It has to be, yeah.
And I think I remember that episode also has to do with Smallville, if I'm remembering correctly. And the Man of Steel bars, I remember an episode that had to do with Superman and a kryptonite cage. I don't know if that's this one or not.
I have a feeling that might have to do with later in the season.
Okay.
Where Lex is like really enacting his plans.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I have a feeling no, the Man of Steel bars has to do with like who can police Superman. Like, can he be trusted to?
All right.
Police
So
himself.
where's the
keep
bars
himself in
part
check.
come from then?
I think it's because technically he goes to jail or something. Like he's arrested for something or other.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I have a feeling that's what this episode is.
All right. I think we do a little bit better on guessing these than we did with Sliders, I think.
Yeah, and like, it's been a while since I've watched the show, but
yeah,
I have a pretty good idea that's what that episode's about.
But that's okay, because that's it for this issue of the Rewatch Podcast. We don't have to worry about kids anymore. Keep up with listener interaction by liking our Facebook page at facebook.com/Rewatch Podcast or facebook.com/Lois and Clark Rewatch. And follow the show on Twitter at Rewatch Pod. And you can visit our webpage at rewatchpodcast.podomatic.com, which has some of our favorite links there, such as zoomway.net, redboots.net, folc.wiki.com, and sliders.tv, plus links to our archive of film rewatch episodes.
And remember, you can always write us an email or record a voice message and send it to the rewatchpodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you've enjoyed the show, please consider giving us a rate and review on iTunes, always very helpful. And you can help support the Rewatch Podcast by heading over to patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast, where you can make a monthly contribution as little as $1.
Just $1.
Just $1. And of course, we're also up on YouTube, so just search Rewatch Podcast and subscribe. We need 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL, so that would be awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, thank you for joining me for these 2 episodes, Tom.
Yep.
And I would just say, until next time, I'm a man, she's a woman. Do you need me to draw you a diagram?
We gotta fly.
The Rewatch Podcast is not associated with Warner Brothers Television, ABC, Gangbuster Films Incorporated, or Roundelay Productions.
Don't believe everything you see on TV.
The use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided in United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use.
Let's get legal on this.
Music provided by Kevin McCloud at incompetech.com.
Great shades of Elvis.
Copyright 2016, The Rewatch Podcast.
Where are your beepers? We'll be in touch.
Hi, Rewatch Podcast listeners. I'm Corey.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Nathan.
First off, let me say that we have all had a blast doing the Rewatch Podcast. Every week, we put out another episode for free for you. And although we enjoy these discussions with each other, we truly do this for you guys out there in podcast land.
That's right, Corey. But we are here today to tell you about Patreon. Every week, there are costs involved in podcasting about film and television, including hosting and bandwidth charges, our own personal internet usage, and film or show rentals and purchases. So, we're asking you to become a Patreon supporter.
If you can afford as little as $1 to throw our way per month, it would really help us keep the lights on. And if you want to send $100 our way every month, we wouldn't turn that down either. But it's your choice, and we appreciate the support you bring.
As always, we strive to bring you the best quality shows we can create, and we hope that you enjoy them. So head on over to patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast to become one of our patrons and show your support for the Rewatch Podcast.
And if we get enough patrons, we may even be able to produce exclusive content just for the supporters in the form of simply getting episodes before the main feed release, or even bonus film discussion episodes as a thank you for your support. The website again is patreon.com/Rewatch Podcast.
Thanks, everyone.